Good morning again, Chancellor Weatherby, Provost Kadeen, Lieutenant Governor, distinguished
Uncle's
guests,
on if you want to watch.
families and community leaders, alumni and current students that are still here. But most importantly, good morning to the graduating class of 2019.
No. Shh. Just keep playing, buddy.
Today is a very special day for you. Today, and in particular, this moment marks the opening sentence in a brand new chapter in your lives. One that after 4 years, you are now even more empowered to author yourselves. So if you're anything like me, when I was blindly following the spectacle of my commencement 16 years ago, I had no idea who the speakers were, or what their titles were, or what their inherent position was in the college or in the country. So I'm sure you're wondering, who's this regent? Or maybe better yet, what the heck is a regent? Well, you don't need to worry about those titles today. Today I'm speaking to you as Casey Lozar, a kid who grew up on Rocky Point Road in Brooklyn, in a large Native American family, in abject poverty. My dad made less than $7,000 a year for a family of 7. A kid who was raised in a home rich with love and laughter and persistence. A kid that clawed his way through college, through grad school, through business school. A kid who has committed his life to helping others, growing communities one citizen at a time. And a kid who, when I visited Western, 4 times I visited Western before coming here as a regent, I spent each of those nights, those 4 nights when I came here, sleeping in a car in the gym's parking lot, because both my family or myself didn't have enough money for a hotel. A kid just like you, 16 years ago, was ready for a new chapter, a new challenge, and eager to dip my toes in the waters of life. To be sure, it is the greatest of honors to be with you this morning, and I spent much time laboring over what I'd share with you, what knowledge that I would throw down. I myself have sat in your shoes 3 different times, trying to focus on what the commencement speaker was saying, what wisdom was being imparted, only to be daydreaming about the amount of packing I still had to do, and oh shit, I forgot to return my library books, or I wonder if all octopuses have 8 legs, or do you call them octopi? Are they legs? What do you call? I think they're tentacles. This Ivy League education didn't really help much. I hearken back to the speakers at my graduations for some motivation, and not only do I not realize or remember what they shared, I don't even remember who my speakers were. So I don't expect you to remember much today. But if there is one thing that you remember, it is this. At this very moment in time, you have accomplished something massive, something to be proud of, something that no one can ever take away from you, something that you will remember for the rest of your lives, and your kids and your kids' kids will retell for generations to come. You are a college graduate. You are a success. You have a legacy now. You're an alumnus. And now you officially have to pay back your student loans. This morning, I'm not going to implore you to take risks or to fail and fail often, to dream big, to solve the world's problems, to find cures for the globe's ailments, to heal our political system, to reverse climate change, etc., etc. I'm not going to recite inspirational quotes from famous authors or world leaders or philosophers. This morning, I'm going to give you some tangible pointers so you don't end up sleeping in cars in parking lots. So number 1, first thing, wear out your fast forward button. At some point in your life, you've written down a goal, and in creating goals, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to know where you're starting from, where you aspire to go, to what you want to reach, and why you want to reach those goals. Goals can be powerful motivators. But I think that goals, especially when they're written down, are too often than not stale and lifeless, lack emotion and description. Goals are obscure, distant finish lines that we hope to cross someday. They are sterile. They are often all things that we are not. That's where the remote control comes in handy, particularly the fast forward button for life. And this is how it works. When you set out to accomplish something, first hit the fast forward button to feel, to see, to hear, to taste yourself reaching that accomplishment. When I was an underclassman at Dartmouth, I struggled academically. It took me 2 to 3 times longer to write a paper or study for a test or a quiz, and even longer to tackle math problems. When I started second-guessing myself that I belonged in an Ivy League school, or whether I'd actually make it to my commencement day, I fast-forwarded my life to my mother's smile, right side curled up a little more than the left, the exact moment that I would see her right after my graduation ceremony. That visual that I played over and over and over in my head rebuilt my confidence, and it recommitted me to my studies. Or when I was going through chemo for cancer I had a few years ago, I fast-forwarded to the exact song that my wife would play in the car when we drove away from Rocky Mountain Cancer Center after the doctor said I was cancer-free. Experiencing that song in that moment in advance refined my focus on a positive outcome. Or when I became the finalist for the executive position at the Federal Reserve for the second time, actually the first time I was not chosen, I sped past the present to that body buzz that I would feel the moment I would hit the red hang-up button on my cell phone after being offered the job and becoming one of the youngest executives at the Federal Reserve. That experience that I relived in the future gave me the belief that I would absolutely crush my interview. Well, I know it is impossible to keep track of your remote in your house. Be sure you have your remote control for life on hand every time you're setting out to do something meaningful. Good things will happen, and the batteries never have to be replaced. Okay, that's number one. Number two might be one of the most important. Number two, don't pick your nose in public. It's gross, and people don't forget nose pickers. Number three, travel. Doesn't matter where. Is it the state of Montana, in the country, around the world, it does not matter. Travel will broaden your perspectives on life, on culture, on different people, and will force you to understand how good you really have it. Number four, please do this. Proofread your cover letters. If you don't, and you have mistakes, you will be immediately eliminated from your applicant pool. Number five, be committed to something beyond yourself. 3 weeks ago, my grandfather passed on. He was the patriarch of a huge family on Flathead. He had an incredibly successful career, a community that respected him, was the happiest person I have ever known, and had a family that revered him. I cannot imagine someone having a better life. And I know I'm very lucky to have him in my life, but I will say I am very lucky that he left me a huge inheritance. I learned of my inheritance in a letter found in his files after he passed. See, uneducated in the 1950s, there were very few career prospects for Native Americans, especially off the reservation where racism towards Indians was relentless. Being a leader in the Washington, D.C. Central Office of the Bureau of Indian Affairs was in many ways sort of the pinnacle or the apex, the highest accomplishment of a reservation Indian. After several years working with the Bureau on a number of different reservations, he was invited to the head table. He was given an offer for a leadership position in D.C. My inheritance letter from my grandpa is his response to D.C. over 60 years ago. And I'd like to just read a very short excerpt. I wish to thank you very much for the consideration extended me in the central office. It is with regret that I am not in a position at this time to be considered for the vacancy. In all fairness to my supervisors and the Indian people, I believe that at least another year of field experience will better qualify me for the position mentioned in the telegram. I accepted this job at the Umatilla Reservation without an increase in pay to gain experience of all types, which will prepare me for better service as well as sound judgment in handling land holdings of Indians. For this reason, I believe the experience gained while at Umatilla will be a great asset to all concerned. And I believe that a move at this time will work a hardship on my son and his schooling due to this being his first year in school. You see, my inheritance from my grandpa was not money or property. My inheritance was both a reminder and his example of putting others first. He was committed to his community, he was committed to his family, more so than a bigger salary or more compensation or social status or the prestige that would have come from taking a job in D.C. In his time, he stood up to the government as a government employee to protect tribal sovereignty, to uphold our treaty rights. He fought for that same government in World War II in the Pacific. He served as the chief tribal judge for our tribe, and he led a clan of Lozars, which is not easy to do, for 94 years. All of this while quietly validating that a good life lived is a life committed to something larger than yourself. His inheritance has left me immeasurably wealthy. So, graduates, as you progress through the next chapters of your life, ask yourself, what inheritance will I leave behind? Commit to something larger than yourself. Number 6, don't ignore paying back your student loans. You laugh, but I tried this once, and it did not work, and it was not a pleasant experience for anybody. Number 7, gambling in a shell game won't go well. Shell games, the 3 cups and the balls, and you gamble and you try to guess it. It never goes well. I had $100 to my name when I was living in Argentina, and I went down to the park, and I studied and watched this guy doing the game, and I wagered all in, and I lost. And my trip home from Argentina to Montana was very interesting, mostly sketchy. Number 8, ride the Greyhound bus. It will expose you to an America and people that you never knew existed. Number 9, this is very important. Be kind to service staff. You are not better than them. And the last thing, number 10, everything you do with pride. If my kids were here this morning, they would be rolling their eyes right now. They hear me say these words every single day. When they're putting away their dishes for dinner or picking up their dirty clothes, they're prepared to hear, did you do that with pride? Studying for a spelling test, are you proud of how you studied? Playing in a hockey tournament, were you proud of your sportsmanship? Everything you do with pride. Pride is powerful, more so than what you can imagine. And pride has a memory. Now, let's try this. graduates, I want you to take just a quick moment and to think of a specific time in your life that you were not really that proud of yourself. Just give you a few minutes to think about that. I see some frowns over there. I'm sure there's some many memories that came flooding back. Most of them maybe bad memories, maybe feelings of shame, maybe disgust, anger, or what in the heck was I thinking? Now, I want you to take a moment and think of a time in your life that you were very, very proud of yourself. I'm sure these memories were much more enjoyable for you, filled with feelings of happiness, satisfaction, gratification, fulfillment, achievement. Pride has a memory that is never abandoned. Your actions and your decisions determine how you will experience pride. Be proud or not proud. You and you alone are the only ones that govern your pride. You're the arbiter. You're the only referee. You have the power to be proud of all the things that you do in life. From the most immaterial of things, like folding your laundry, or sending an email to your boss, to raking your yard, preparing for an interview, to the clothes that you wear each day. Ask yourself, am I proud of how I did these things? All the way up to the biggest of life's commitments or decisions. From the career you had, the community you impacted, the lives that you saved, the legislation that you passed, even to the inheritance you'll leave behind. If you're not asking yourself multiple times a day, did I do that with pride? Then you're likely not putting your best self forward. And you're not contributing to society in the best possible way. Everything you do with pride, and you will have a beautiful life, a fulfilling career, and maybe more importantly, internal happiness that can't be equal. So today, graduates, I trust you are proud of yourself as you should be. A college degree is a big damn deal. Today, there is an entire gym and an entire community that is proud of you. And I'm sure there are people in this gym that have helped you to get you to this point. Family members, teachers, community leaders that are proud of you. I want to ask our soon-to-be graduates to stand up and stay standing for a moment. I want you to look in the crowd and find somebody in the crowd that has helped you to become the proud graduate that you are today, and give them a massive round of applause. And stay standing. Audience, I want you to stand up. And I want you to look down and find a graduate that you are especially proud of, and give them even a louder round of applause. Graduates, there is no reason why you can't take this pride into tomorrow, into next week, next month, life's next chapter, and draw on it as you begin to find ways to make our world a better place. Use your remote control. Commit to something larger than yourself. Ensure that everything you do with pride. Congratulations to the graduating class of 2019.